Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is episode number 2 of season 2 of Coaching Connections. Now on today's episode, I had a chance to sit and talk to Noe Cantu of Cole High School, and we had a wonderful discussion about their journey to winning a state championship this season. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode just as much as I did. Again, Noe Cantu, Coaching Connections. Let's get after it. Morning, Coach.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? We good?
Yeah. Trying to find some better lighting, man, but I mean, this is all I got. You can barely see me, huh?
Yeah, it's all good. I see you. I see you good. I mean, I don't know if you want a certain side of your face to show more than the other or something.
Nah, I just don't got good lighting here in my apartment, man.
It's all good.
Stay home on the weekends. I usually go to Victoria. I have a house there in Victoria.
Where you from?
Yeah, I have a house there. So I'm usually there on the weekends, man, but I decided to stay here.
Got you.
It's all good.
Hello, Coach. How you doing, champ? How you doing, champ?
Man, just settling in now. It's been a kind of a wild, kind of crazy couple weeks, after the state championship, man. You got so much things you got to fulfill too, so it's starting to slow down a little bit, which is pretty cool.
Good.
Sounds good, man. This is pretty cool, man, doing all this stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Been pretty.
What's that?
It's been pretty fun for you to get out doing all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I get to meet a lot of people I probably wouldn't have met otherwise. A lot of good people. People out there are real genuine, that I've talked to. I talked to Chuck Martin the other day, and I didn't know him prior other than social media. But he's a real down-to-earth, genuine guy, Just need to connect with people and kind of pick the brains a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's pretty cool, man. I've been enjoying watching some of your segments, man. It's been pretty cool to kind of see the different kind of people you've got on.
Well, I appreciate that, Noe.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about your journey, just the tournament this year. I mean, you're a state champion. Talk about how that feels. Talk about some of the obstacles along the way during the tournament this year. I honestly, man, it doesn't feel any. You think, us as coaches, the pinnacle, the high point is like you want to win a state championship and you want to get that fulfillment. You feel like, man, when you get there, it's just going to be this great high, this great feeling. And it was, you win your state championship and in that moment, man, it's like you feel like you're there and you arrive and you accomplish something great. But, then when you get home, that kind of goes down a little bit. And, it really put coaching in perspective for me, that, it's not so much always about the wins and the losses or winning a state championship. Because, you're still going to have your struggles and you're still going to have your life things that you got to go through. And even your kids, even the kids that you coach, and that's a successful moment in their life for sure. But, after that, man, you still got to coach those kids hard. You still got to guide them to be great people. Really put the coaching in perspective for me that there's a lot more than just, winning championships and winning games. But, it was great. It was great for our kids. It was great for our program. I know it hadn't been done in San Antonio for a while as far as the UIL team on the boys side. So, that was pretty cool. You always hear about the teams from Houston and Dallas, and, San Antonio really can't compete with those guys. So, it kind of felt kind of good to kind of win. And hopefully, there's a trend with San Antonio getting back to that stage and winning because, there's a lot of great coaches here, man. And I've been around some great ones here in San Antonio and better ones than me, honestly, and there's great players here and sometimes, those guys don't get all the recognition that they deserve, but, there's a lot of great basketball here in San Antonio. I agree. I mean, I think of our city, we got a pretty good group of guys that are, I don't want to say close knit, not everybody's best friends, but guys are willing to talk to each other and help each other out. And so, like you said, there's coaches that I know 100 times better than myself that I'll call them, pick their brain, and they're always willing to help and talk and just, be a lending hand, so to speak. And
absolutely.
A lot of those guys don't always get the recognition because maybe they didn't win a state championship or something. We've got some outstanding coaches in the city for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I've grown with a lot of them. I know I talked to Coach Valenzuela there at San Antonio Christian a lot. Coach Lacey there at Churchill and McComb at Bernie. I mean, there's
a lot of great basketball minds here that just know a lot of basketball. And it's been really cool to kind of be around those guys, learn from those guys, kind of take what you learn from them, try to bring it to your program, make it your own kind of deal. But yeah, I completely agree that, there's great coaches, great players here. But, for our guys to get highlighted, for winning, that was really cool. And I was happy for them because, us being a 3A, sometimes it's kind of hard for us to kind of get recognition, so to say. I know a lot of coverage is usually on 5As and 6As. So for our guys to kind of win and kind of get that exposure, I was really happy for them.
Absolutely, Coach. You guys this year, you had a pretty tough schedule. Some 5A, 6A programs that you guys played with and beat. So, I know on my end, at least, Cole always has the utmost respect from us. But back to those three guys you mentioned earlier, all three outstanding coaches. Had them all on the podcast as well. They're just good dudes. Yeah. Lacey and Valenzuela and Kimball, man. I thought Kimball was going to have a chance to get to the state tournament.
Yeah.
He was on the cusp.
Yeah, we were talking to each other kind of before the semifinal games. We had played each other, I think, the last 2 years. And so we were kind of, he was kind of wondering, I guess the first time they had been to a state tournament. And he was kind of wondering, just about everything, kind of pick my brain about, just the atmosphere and the logistics of everything, man. So it was really cool for, because I'm always asking him about plays and different things they do on offense, man. So whenever he kind of talked to me a little bit about, we talked a little bit about, going forward into the state tournament, man. It's kind of cool to kind of give him some advice because, I'm always asking him, man, what did you do here or this play or that? I love their offense and what they do on that side of the ball. So, I talked to him a lot, and I thought for sure they had a really good shot. They had a really good team. I know back this year and they had played really well throughout the whole season. So I was definitely rooting for those guys for sure.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that same concept. We played each other all the time. We didn't play this year. We were supposed to, but we didn't get a chance to. But no, after the game, he'll just like, hey, let's sit and talk basketball and just pick it. When a guy that's got that much experience, I learned a lot just from him asking, let's sit and talk basketball. Mm-hmm. Just because he's been doing it a lot longer than we have. Yet still willing to sit down and ask questions and pick your brain and willing to give advice. And so just from a mentor perspective, I learned a lot just from how to be an open book and things of that nature. So you guys have a 7-foot center transfer out. And I know it's been asked quite a bit, but I think it's valuable for people out there to, coaches to learn maybe how you and your team handled him moving and how did you guys respond to adversity? What are some of the things that you talked about in the locker room and made an emphasis on?
Well, for starters, man, us and Vince, man, we have a great relationship. I still talk to him, frequently a lot. Yeah. And so, I always wanted the best for Vince, whether, I told him before, whether you stay here and play for us, we're going to love on you, man. We want the best for you. Whether you leave here, we love you, man. We want the best for you. So there's really no bad blood there. I guess the only thing that kind of frustrated me about the whole situation, there's so many outside people, you know how it is, there's so many outside people in kids' ears and everything. Well, this is the best situation for you, or you need to play here, you need to play in this system, you need to play for this coach, you need to play against these kind of people. And, I get it, he's such a highly touted, one of the best players in the country. And that's what happens, when you got one of those kind of guys, everybody's going to kind of want to be a part of that and have their say on things. And, I always stay in the back seat with, Vince knows that we love him, man, and we want the best for him. And when he decided to leave, he told us, I think in August, which was, pretty close to when school started. So, we had our schedule made, we had everything kind of planned forward with him, so, that kind of was a shock, at least, because we thought he was going to be here. But then, when he decided to leave, I actually called a meeting with our guys and I said, look, we got this team and that team and this team and on a schedule. You guys want to go forward with this? And I said, I'm fine either way. I said, I'm good to play it, and our guys, they're like, yeah, of course, why not? Because, we got two really good players here as well too, in Trey and Silas. And I had told them, I said, man, you guys are going to have to be pretty special this year for us to kind of get back to where we were. And they kind of looked at me and laughed, and they were like, Coach, we could have done this last year, but we always, they're like, we could have did this last year, but we just got, we'd always just have pretty good players here. We had Vince, and we had this kid, Jordan Arnett, who's, he's playing at Western New Mexico as a freshman this year. He started as a freshman at Division II. We had really good players the year before. So Silas and Trey were kind of like, not really as known. And I always knew they were great players. They felt the same way. They both got Division I offers right now. So it really just shows how talented they really are. But I think they kind of took it upon themselves and had a chip on their shoulder. Like, man, we're going to show everybody how good this team still is. And it was the same thing with the coaching staff. We heard it all too. It's like, now you guys are going to actually have to coach. You're going to actually can't just, you can't just show up and win. And so, I think our whole program was just really motivated, our kids, our coaching staff, and we all just wanted to kind of prove ourselves, I guess, And then, with the whole COVID thing, there was just a lot of adversity in that. At Fort Sam, we're on a military base. So there's a lot more stricter guidelines and rules than most places, So, we were at the state tournament. We were the only team in mask. We played in mask all year, and we were playing in mask in the state tournament, So you had to deal with that. And then we went on a block schedule this year, which mean we only got to see our kids on Monday, Wednesday, Friday for athletics. So I didn't even get to see them on Tuesdays and Thursdays just because of the whole COVID situation. They're trying to switch around schedules and make it better academic wise. But that limited us to seeing them on Tuesday and Thursdays. So there was just a lot of things that we went through, and then we started the season 6-5. And obviously we won 21 straight after that. But we played some great teams. We beat Laredo Nixon, which is a great 6A. We beat San Angelo Central, was a playoff team in 6A. We beat Alamo Heights, who's always good, and I thought we played Johnson very, very close to like 8 points. Wagner was a tied up game going to the fourth quarter, and then Judson kind of took it to us. But we played Oak Cliff out of Dallas. Oak Cliff family got those guys to come down. And heck, it's a 9-point game with about 2.5 minutes to go. So we learned a lot about ourselves. And, I told our guys, I think sometimes, especially maybe schools like us, who are a smaller school, and, if we play 3As or 4As, we'll probably have a lot of success. But I told our guys, you're not going to really know what you're not good at, when you have a lot of success. And so we try to challenge our guys. We play the biggest schools that we can find. If anybody wants, I don't think I've ever turned down a game, if Duncanville called and said, hey, we want to play next year, I would never be like, no, we definitely would play it. It's not about winning or losing. We want to put our guys in a lot of adverse situations, a lot of adverse games, because you learn so much about yourself. And that's what happened with us. We played a lot of tough teams, and we learned, hey man, we're not good in this area. We got to get better here. But I think a lot of times, sometimes coaches or teams, they're afraid to challenge their kids, but, you might win by 15 or 20 points, but you don't really know what you're not good at. We found out early, hey, we got to be better on defense. We got to box out better. We got to be more efficient on the offensive end. But I don't think we would have ever learned those things if we didn't put our kids in those kind of tough situations and challenges. So, that really helped us, like I said, starting season 6-5, playing the teams that we did. And then obviously once we got in the district and playoffs, we were fine. We go to state championship game, and everybody's talking about Tatum and how athletic they are and how big they are and how fast and their defensive pressure. And I kept trying to sound humble. I was like, guys, I was trying to tell reporters and people. I was like, Cliff Faith family, We played Laredo Nixon, who's going to get up in your face the whole entire game. We played Judson, we played Wagner, and I think it just helped us in the long run for sure.
Absolutely, and I can totally agree with that concept of wanting to challenge your guys. Maybe if you don't have those early challenges against those types of teams, maybe then you don't have the success down the road because you find out the hard way that you're not good at these things, right?
No, for sure. I think, and that happened to me my first year. I got here my first year, and I didn't make the schedule, so I had to play the schedule, and man, I think we won our first, I think we started out like 21-0 or something. And we were like 36-1 going to the playoffs. And we were on this great run. Like we're the best team in state. And then we lost in the regional finals. And I realized like, man, were we really good? But like, we didn't know. We had played a kind of a schedule, maybe like, a lot of teams 3As and 4As that we were better than, and we didn't really know a lot about ourselves. And then after that first year, and I got to make the schedule the following year, I was like, man, that's not gonna happen again as far as going to a game and we don't know about ourselves. And so ever since that first year, we've made this schedule, and we've made it tougher and tougher. And next year, it's the toughest we've ever had it too. So we're not trying to lighten the load at all. We're trying to play the biggest and the best teams that we can play, and so that's just kind of what we're doing now.
And you still got Trey and Silas coming back, so that's a plus.
Well, yeah, I mean they help. Trey and Silas, they were both all-state guards. They're coming back, and we got this other kid, Dre Ray. He was actually an all-region guard. Okay. He's coming back as well. So we got 3 all-region kids. Our 3 leading scorers, all 3 of them are coming back. So hopefully, we can do some. It looks like we can do some things again this year or next year, but. You know how it is as a coach, man. Every year is different. Every team's different. And, they're still going to have to put in the work, and they're still going to have to get better. And that team's going to have to be its own kind of team and have its own identity because, it's like I told them, I think I told them this week, that team was a state championship. This team we got coming back, you're not the state champions. You haven't won it, So they got to understand they still got to go out there and earn it for sure.
No, I love it, Coach. I love the concept that you have of kind of keeping them grounded, keeping them hungry. You don't want them to get complacent by any means. But they already seem like the kind of kids that are hungry in themselves. I don't know Trey or Silas and those guys, but just knowing from what I've seen from a distance, they seem like pretty good kids.
Yeah, for sure. They're always hungry. Always got a chip on the shoulder. Like I said, they always feel like they're kind of underlooked just because of the size of the school that we have. So they always got that chip on their shoulder. They always want to prove themselves. And, that's what makes them really good, is that they don't lose that. And so like they're just highly competitive guys. They hate to lose. And they're very coachable kids. I think that's one of the things that people don't know about them, man. I can yell at them, scream at them, get in their face, tell them they're not doing this right. And they kind of want that, they kind of want to know what they're not good at because they both want to play in college. They both want to play at the highest level. And they know that, things get tougher every year. Whether you're a junior high going to high school, it's going to get tougher. With high school going to college, it's going to get tougher. College going to pros, it's going to be tougher. And they understand that. So I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't know about is just how coachable they are.
It's a blessing, Coach. It's a blessing.
Yeah, for sure.
So talk a little bit about your childhood, man. Where'd you grow up? I know you said earlier, Victoria. Did you have any influences in your life that made you want to come into this profession?
Yeah, I grew up in Victoria. I grew up in Victoria. I was born and raised there. Actually, when I went to high school, my mom, she was a teacher as well. She moved to Yorktown, a little small school.
I know Yorktown. My old assistant coach is now the head coach of Yorktown. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So she was actually from Yorktown. That's where she was from. So she moved there, and I moved there as a freshman. So I went to high school there as a freshman and played basketball and baseball. And we were really good in basketball. I think that's kind of when we kind of started making that turn because they still had some success even in the last couple of years, some pretty good success. We actually played Cole in the regional tournament my sophomore year. We played Cole in the regional tournament, lost to him actually by 1 or 2. We were really good that year. And so played there, played at a junior college, went to Coastal Bend Junior College when it was just starting up and learned a lot there because we played in Region 14. So we played against Glenn and that's when San Jack was still playing and Midland, Odessa, South Plains, Tyler. Got to play against some really good players. Jimmy Butler was at Tyler when I was at Coastal Bend. So got to play against him, got to see him up close. So, you learned a lot just being around high-level basketball, coaches, players. Playing there, I realized that, okay, basketball's not in your future, man. So you need to learn that very fast. So realized, man, you better get your education and do that. And so I played there for 2 years, went to A&M Corpus and graduated there. And as soon as I graduated, my head coach at my junior college, He had just got a principal job in Victoria. It just happened to be that's where I'm from. He got a principal job. And, I didn't really want to work in Victoria from the start. No one really wants to work at their hometown at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you kind of just graduate. I don't want to go somewhere else, But I really started from the bottom, man. I remember applying everywhere for assistant jobs, and I could never get an interview. It got so bad. I remember taking my application, instead of sending online, I remember taking my applications to schools. I would drive to schools and I'd go to the school and drop off my application because I felt like, well, maybe if they see me and they see how like interested I am, I might get an interview, I might get a shot. And it never happened, and I would drop off applications. I'd drive an hour and a half away to drop off an application and come home. I still never got an interview. And then I got in touch with my principal, and he said, man, we don't, or, my junior college coach who was a principal at Victoria, and he said, we don't have no openings. He goes, but I can get you on as a permanent sub, and maybe you can volunteer with the basketball team. And so I did that for 2 years, or a year, I should say. I did that for a year. I was a permanent sub, so I wasn't even getting paid full time as a teacher. Obviously didn't get a stipend for coaching. I just had a volunteer. That's the only way I could kind of get out there, And then so the next year they hired me. I got to be like a JV coach, and so I started there. And then after 2 or 3 years, he brought me up as his varsity assistant. So I was with Pat Erskine, man. He's a really, really good coach. Learned a lot from him. Just learned how to run a program and run a practice. I think what the thing about Pat was, he never made the program about himself ever. Never treated me as an assistant coach. It was never go put the clothes in the wash or go get the balls or, he did it and I did it. If he was if he was in the locker room when the clothes were there, he'd go put them in the wash, or if I was there, I'd go put them in the wash, or if he could get the balls, if he was right there, he'd go get the balls or set the clock up. He never, I just remember that he never treated me like that, and he gave me total ownership of the program as well. I ran practices. I did all those things, and he put me in those situations to help me. I know that. And, I'm very thankful for that because a lot of times assistant coaches, they don't have that luxury, and he just showed me a lot about how to treat assistants, how to be a humble person, how to run a program. And I'm so thankful for my time there. So, when I went to Cole, I had run practice before, I had make calls in games and subs in games and called inbounds before. Like it wasn't new to me. And that was because, Pat had gave me so much ownership of things. So I'm always thankful for that because, sometimes I see it, sometimes, assistant coaches, they're not learning as much as they should.
Yeah.
And I try to do that with my guys, man. I have assistants, they call the inbounds. Some of them do the scout report. I'll overlook it and make some changes here, but I try to give those guys as much ownership as they can. Our goal is obviously to win as many games as we can. It's kind of in our vision, in our binder, we say, we want to be the best team in the state of Texas. We want our players to play and coach at the next level, and we want our assistant coaches to become head coaches, and those are all our goals. And but being around Pat for about, I tell her about time, my mom and everybody's always trying to tell me you should get your master's degree and if you want to do anything in the future, I tell them, I said, well, I got my master's degree in coaching, man. I was with Pat for like 7 years. I say it like that. Yeah. Like I got a master's degree just being around him, for 7 years. So that helped me a lot coming to Cole, man. And I can't thank him enough. I still talk to him 2 or 3 times a week, whether it's about basketball or life. So was very blessed to be in Victoria for as long as I was. Then came here 4 years ago, and we've had some really good success.
I can appreciate that journey, man. The grind of trying to get just an interview, just to get a call back.
Yeah.
Sure, at times for some coaches out there, it could be a little disheartening. But if you want something bad enough, you just keep on and keep on and keep on and keep on. And so, much respect to you in that regard, Coach. I mean, that's big time. Driving an hour and a half just for a shot, just so they can put a face. And maybe see your energy a little bit.
Yeah, and that was the whole thought process, man. I could not get an interview anywhere, and I thought, maybe they're going to see my face and they'll, at least give me a shot, but never worked out for me. And now, it's that's why I always think, I'll always be thankful for Victoria West. I'll always be thankful for Cole because, now, you got people calling you that want you to interview. I mean, you know how it is now, but I was like, man, I couldn't get I couldn't get a junior high interview, man. And now people call you, they want you to interview at places, so it's very humbling, and I'm very thankful for those times for sure.
Most definitely. And then, going back to your comment about, coach preparing you, I was blessed with a similar coach that, Coach Olendijk, when I was at Southwest with him, and he took me to Marshall, and he knew I wanted to be a head coach, and he gave me a lot of ownership. He gave me a lot of, I never thought of it as duties. It's just, wanted me to experience what it was like, to run a program. And so he gave me so many responsibilities that when it was time, you felt ready. I mean, you're never really fully ready till you dive in. And then you realize, this is a little tougher than I thought. But as prepared as you could be, thankful for guys like that. Because you're right. I see coaches on the sideline that just kind of sit there. They don't do a whole lot. I'm curious what it's like on a day-to-day for them. So I'll try to do what I can as well to involve my guys, and especially if they want to be head coaches,
Yeah, and we've made a point to do that, and honestly, people want to work for you. They'll work harder for you, if they feel like you appreciate them, that you give them ownership. I've learned that the way you treat people, the way you handle people, I think they'll be more loyal to you. They're going to work harder for you, and that's just going to make your team better, And I tell our guys all the time. I tell our coaches, we can't just have two eyes on our program, man. If we got two eyes on our program, we're not going to be very good. We got to have 6, 8 different eyes on our program because I can't see everything, and nor can I be really good at everything. If I'm trying to be the best, if I'm trying to control the offense, the defense, the inbounds, the subs, the timeouts, I mean, there's no way you can be great at 5 things. Now, if I give myself 2 things, I'm going to focus on the offense. I'm going to focus on the offense. I'm going to focus on, the timeouts. I could probably be really good at 2 things, and then now my assistant coach, he can be really good at 1 thing. This other assistant can be really good at 1 thing. But if I'm trying to be really good at 5, that's just not possible. I've learned that. You try to do everything yourself, and you're going to lack in some areas. So, we want to be the best in all areas of our game, of our program. So we give those guys duties, we give those guys jobs, and it's like, okay, hey, here, this is your job, this is your deal, this is your baby. You need to be the best at it. And, they appreciate that. They like that. And it's really worked out for us.
Absolutely, Coach. And like you said, you make them feel like they're a part of it, and when they feel like they have some ownership, that they're going to want to work for you a lot harder, a lot more loyal, like you said. So you're in practice, right? You're in practice. What are a couple of your favorite, I mean, this is going to sound real basic, but, a couple of your favorite drills, something that you like, man, I love this part of practice when we get into it, on a daily.
Well, one of the things that we like to do in practice, I'm sure like a lot of people do, is we put a score on just about everything, and really, in all honesty, like, there's a lot of times, sometimes when we're having success or we're winning, games, I'll tell our coaches that this day, all right, well, we need to almost make them lose today. We'll put some crazy numbers. We'll try to get underneath their skin. We'll try to have lose some situations and some drills. And I just want to see how you react. I want to see what kind of heart you got, what kind of heart you really got, what kind of mental capacity you have. So I like challenging our guys and different things like that, putting scores up there to see just kind of, what their mental capacity is. So I like doing that. But honestly, like as far as drills per se, I love a lot of toughness drills that we do. We do this rebound drill to where we don't call any fouls. There's no fouls being called. There's no out of bounds. We let those guys play. Now, we're not telling them to go hit each other and beat up each other. But, I think what drives me nuts is, and I'm sure you're the same way. You get in a game and guy goes up for a layup and he gets fouled. And he probably does get fouled and the ref don't call it. And your guys are kind of stopping, throwing their hands up, man. It just drives me nuts, So we tell we do a lot of drills where we don't call a lot of fouls because we don't want our guys begging for calls. I was like, look, man, when you hear a whistle, stop playing. If you go up, you get fouled, they don't call it. You just got to keep going. So we have a lot of toughness drills that we do where we don't call a lot of fouls. And then, like I said, just different drills, different shooting things we put up there with time and score. Like to challenge them as much as we can. And, so those are some of the things that I like to see just because we got a lot of highly competitive guys, and then we got a lot of guys that haven't lost a lot of games. And so, we want to make sure that they understand that, hey, you're not maybe as good as you think you are. There's different things that you've got to get better at. You still have weaknesses just like everybody else. You're not a finished product. And sometimes they don't know that until they get in those situations, or they lose, or they struggle in practice. So we try to make practice as tough as we can, whether it's, physical wise or, score mentally wise. So those are some of the things that I like for us in practice.
That rebounding drill is always fun. You got to keep an eye on it, especially with our guys. But
yes,
they get feisty. But I appreciate that dog in them. I think in the national championship game, Baylor just had a whole bunch of tough dudes. A whole bunch of dogs. I'm sure everybody saw it all over the internet. Dogs. But it's true. They just seemed tougher. They were going to play through whatever moment was ahead of them. And in that rebounding drill, this shows the guys that got it in them, and it shows the guys that want absolutely no part of physicality.
Yeah, for sure. I thought Baylor, man, I think the difference with them is like you said, they just seemed like they were a little bit more tougher than Gonzaga was. And not just that, but Baylor, they you look at their guys, and they know where the weight room is. That's for sure. They had some big dudes, man, and that was one of the things that we told our guys too. Look at these guys; they're like football players out there playing basketball. They were all just rocked up, and I was like, they don't miss a weight day. That's for sure. I think that was certainly that's certainly built in. I think even in some of the drills you do, sometimes you get in drills and you get in games and you get pushed around, and then you realize, man, I need to get in a weight room. I need to get stronger. So I could only imagine how, Baylor's practices is. I know I'm sure they're not calling many fouls at practice neither, judging by the way they play and how big they are. So I learn a lot from those guys as far as Baylor. And we've been fortunate enough to have their whole coaching staff in our gym before. Obviously, when Vince was here, Coach Druitt came down, Coach Tang, Coach Brooks, they had all kind of been around the program. So kind of getting to see them up close, kind of having them in our gym was kind of cool to see. Being able to talk to them about a couple things. I know with Coach Brooks there at Baylor, I kind of stole their 95% rule that they have. And we use that a lot here. He was talking about, or they tell their guys that, look, man, you're going to play this basketball game 95% of the time without the basketball in your hands. At most, you're going to have the ball in your hands 5% of the game at most. And so 95% of the time, or the 95% of the other time you don't have it in your hands, what are you doing? What are you doing to help your team? Are you setting good screens? Are you offensive rebounding? Are you boxing out? Are you making, diving on the floor? And so we kind of stole that from them, and that's kind of been one of the staple things for us. So it's been kind of cool to kind of be around some of those guys and learn from them as much as you can,
Yeah, that's a great rule. Simple concept, and the logic behind it is genius. So I think I'm going to steal it from you, who stole it from them. I like the idea, a good way for kids to kind of break it down and look at it. Just keep on.
We were talking about that 95% rule.
That 95% rule is nice. I think I'm going to steal it from you, who stole it from them, and start using that verbiage. It's a pretty simple but genius logic, and it's a simple way for the kids to put a visual to it.
He had broke it down really well one time. He had said, some kid on their team had gone like 2 of 9 from the field for the game, or something like that. And so they had missed 7 shots, or, maybe 2 of 10. So missed 8 shots, bad shooting night, And, he was saying how, the kid was just so down and frustrated throughout the whole game, And he said, man, in reality, you missed 8 shots. He goes, you played, 32 minutes. He goes, you missed 8 shots, probably took about a second a shot. He goes, man, you let 8 seconds affect your whole game.
Mm-hmm.
About that, man. Each shot takes a second or 2, and you let 8 to 16 seconds affect 32 minutes of your play. He goes, that's just not, that's can't have that, And so really think about it like that, man. It's kind of puts it in a huge perspective. And so, we tell our guys, whether you're making or missing shots, what are you doing, to help us be successful? So we kind of live by that, kind of have some things posted up in our locker room, or we'll have it on the board, 95% tonight, and it's just kind of a way, especially in high school, because the headlines are always about who's scoring and who's dominating. That's where usually the recognition is at, and so, I get it too, there's a lot of, that's just how it is now. But, for our guys, we want them to understand that there's more important things than scoring. And so, we tell them all the time, your point production shouldn't indicate whether you played good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Those things are, I think, crucial, especially for your whole team to want to buy in. Because not everybody's not that guy that's going to score 20, but they can have a positive impact in the game. One of our probably, Chris is on our team. He's a really good scorer, really good little player. He's a good player.
Really good.
But we had some other guys that rebounded really well and defended really well, and we needed them to understand that, hey, what you do is just as important as what he does, and because you want them to keep playing at that level.
Yeah.
How important is it for you guys? I don't know how it is out on the base, but I'm sure it's the same everywhere. To have that relationship with the girls' coaching staff or the other sports in the school to all kind of work together and work in harmony.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially being at a small school. A lot of times, you kind of have to share athletes a little bit. We don't have a lot of basketball players that play other sports, but we want to support everybody as much as possible. I think we do. I was at the baseball game yesterday. It was 1,000 degrees outside, but after the game and after school, instead of going home, I went to the baseball game and sat out there for 2 hours and just sweated it out. But I think it's important. You want other teams and other people to see your face, and you don't want to just be all about you. I think if you're just all about yourself, a lot of times, those things can backfire on you. And so, we support our guys, or we support other programs as much as we can. Our guys go to every home football game, and we're kind of all in our own little pod watching the game there like that. It was kind of tough for girls basketball this year because our district split up this year. Usually we play at the same site. With COVID, they wanted to play on different sites, so have smaller crowds and limited amount of teams. So we didn't get to really watch our girls play too much because every time we were playing, whether we were playing at home, they were playing on the road, But that'll change next year. It's going to go back to the old way. But we support other programs as much as we can. I love other sports. I played baseball growing up. I go to as many baseball games as I can. I was a head track coach in Victoria, so I love being out there and watching our guys compete. And then football is, everybody loves football in Texas, whether you played it or not. So love going to watch. Friday Night Lights that's awesome. I think that's probably the only day I want to be a football coach is on Friday night. Whenever you see the crowd and you see the cheerleaders and the beautiful sky, and it feels good in the evening. And I'm like, man, this would be cool to be a football coach. But if you ask me on a Monday or a Tuesday, I'm like, no, I'm good.
Or on a Sunday when they're all there working.
or a Sunday or a Saturday, I'm like, no. But on Friday night, you want to be a football coach for sure. And then obviously my other sport there at Cole is middle school cross country. So, but we love, working with those guys, and anything we can do to help, we'll do. There's been times, I think my first year I went out there and volunteered as a track coach, just to kind of help out a little bit. I know our baseball coach has asked me to go out there a couple of times, just throw some BP and things like that. And I think it's just like I tell the kids, I tell our kids all the time, and they're so basketball. And it's like right now I'm like, man, like stay away from I don't want to do basketball right now. We need to all kind of take a little bit of break and kind of get that hunger back, and I think whenever you go do other things, or you take a little break from basketball, and then when you come back to it, like you're recharged, you're ready to go. But some of our guys, they play basketball every single day, and I feel like you kind of lose your passion sometimes, because it's every day. Take a break for 2 or 3 weeks and come back, and you probably recharge, re-energize. So getting to see other sports, getting to do different things, We always encourage that for our guys and for our coaches.
And your body gets a little break too from the same type of pounding.
Yeah.
I know a lot of these kids will go, and as soon as they're done, they'll start going to training 3, 4, 5 times a week and playing right away. And the body's never really going to get a break.
Yep.
All right, random. Last Chance U was good. Did you watch the last one? The last one?
I did.
What do you think about that? That was great.
Yeah, it was great to just, you see other, your other parts than where you're just from. I think, you realize there's a lot of great players around the country. You think you might be good here or you're good here in Texas, but there's great players everywhere. And then you really see the junior college life too about, junior college basketball, because it's different. I played in junior college and it's a lot like that. It's kind of a tougher crowd that's kind of, maybe not has had as much success because of, whether it's grades or an attitude or got in trouble or got kicked off of a team. So, I thought that was really cool just to kind of see. And then you kind of really just see the ins and outs of coaching. I think a lot of times on TV, you see Coach K or you see Coach Drew, and man, that's awesome. Who wouldn't want to be there? But then you kind of see Last Chance U, and you see what those coaches got to go through, or their facilities, or and they got the same goals, and they're working just as hard as I think any other coach. But you really see just what coaching is about, because how it is. It's not just, playing in front of 60 and 70,000 people like they do on TV. There's so much things. If you're not on that level, there's so much sacrifices and things coaches go through and on a daily basis, for their team and just trying to climb to the next ladder as well. So I thought it was I thought it was a really good close up of coaching that a lot of people don't see, because a lot of people don't see that. I don't think they fully understand what all coaches go through, and on a daily basis, whether it's, high school, even high school, I think, like I said, a lot of times they see, coaches on TV and they see, man, that's a cool job. I'd love to do that. I would love to coach in front of that many people, or, but that's just that, not to say that that's not reality, but that's like the 0.1% of coaches, that they have, those great facilities, those great players, getting paid that much money. In reality, 99% of coaches, man, it's a grind. That, it's tough, man. It wears on you, whether it's physically, mentally. And, so I thought it was pretty cool for people to really see, like, man, dude, you probably watch that and like, I don't know if I want to be a coach anymore, but that's what coaching is. That.
Yeah. And I really liked how they highlighted how he had to, there's so many different personalities within the program, and you can't really address them all the same way. I can't talk to player X, something may trigger a little differently than in player Y and player Z. And so how he handled it, really put a good highlight on that, and the sacrifices he made away from his family. Like the time in the locker room, he's talking about, I see you guys more than I see my kids, and he's kind of going off. Yeah. But it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, all that's true, man. And like I said, I think, how it is. I think coaching is, maybe it's an underappreciated kind of job, profession. I don't think a lot of people really appreciate it as much. And it's probably one of the most scrutinized jobs there is. I'm at a baseball game yesterday, and I'm just like, and I'm hearing you're hearing parents and everybody, fans, just going crazy, about what are we doing? And I'm just like, and I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I wonder if this is really going on, like even when I'm coaching. And I'm sure it is. You don't really hear it until you're kind of in the stands or on the other side of it. So, it's just one of those jobs that, it's tough, and you really got to love what you're doing. You really got to love the kids that kind of just to stay into it,
Coach, I'm sure that you won how many in a row? 20? You finished 21 in a row? I'm sure even during that run, there was probably some parents, or some parents picking it apart.
Oh, yeah.
It just
absolutely. I think I've learned whether you win or you lose, you're not going to please everybody, and, for us, as a coaching staff, and we tell our guys all the time, you know, I'm just concerned with the 15 kids that are here, that are in this room. You know, I care about what you guys think and what, you know, what matters to you. But if, you know, if you're trying to please everybody else and you're trying to listen to other people, you know, you're trying to be pulled in other directions, then it's just not gonna end well, you know.
Yep. You took the words right out of my mind. You know, exactly how I feel. You know how coaches get. We talk about the most random things in there. Well, what are some of the most random things you guys talk about in your office?
The most random things that we talk about?
Yeah, in the coach's office.
We always do scenarios. I always do scenarios with my assistant coach. He kind of hates it, and he's like, man, that would never happen. I'm like, well, what if it did happen? So I'm like,
100%, yeah.
I just do stupid stuff like, hey, man, what if we're shaking hands at the end of a game and like one of the coaches doesn't shake your hand? Like, you know, or you know, what if you're, I don't know, what if you go to the store and you see somebody like stealing like a loaf of bread, you know? Are you going to say something or you're not? Like, so I'm always big into scenarios, and I always put him in the tough situations. He'll try to ask me, and I'm like, nah, I don't answer those. So I give him the tough situations as much as possible. And so that's always fun for us, and talking about stuff like that.
I like to play devil's advocate. Even if I agree with the coach is saying, I'll just pretend like I don't and just start spitting some random stuff and then watch him get a little fired up. You know, it's just fun, you know, good. It's a good time in there.
Yeah, we're kind of in the stocks right now. So that's kind of our coaching staff kind of talk right now, debate. We're all in the group chat about stocks. So that's kind of the new thing. We all think we're day traders now. It's funny. We had won the state championship, and my assistant was like, all right, man, I'm officially a day trader come Monday. Like,
that's funny. We were talking about, like, just a couple of days ago, what's the most athletic animal on the planet? Then it turned into a thing, you know, who's going to beat up a grizzly bear? And it was just we just talk about the most random things.
Oh yeah, we get on the YouTube videos, man, and at one we're watching, like, I think we started like 2 days ago. We were talking about baseball, so we were seeing Augie Garrido, and he was going off on his team, you know, and then he was the head baseball coach at UT, and he just had a foul kind of mouth, you know. They had kind of like a camera on him, and you know, he was kind of just going in on his team. So it started there, and then somehow it got into like polar bears fighting. Like, you know, you start getting on a YouTube hole, you start clicking on videos, and all of a sudden you started out with baseball, and now you're like two grizzly bears are fighting, and we're all watching it all like in game. You guys start clicking on videos, and then
that in a rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. So no, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. Talk about a couple moments in your career, you know, where you realize, you know, what you do as a basketball coach, and you kind of already alluded to it, right? You know, but wins and losses are great. State championships, you know, it's a phenomenal feat, and I'm sure it means a lot. You know, but some other moments where you realize that what you do is much deeper than coaching basketball.
You know, really, it's honestly with a lot of our guys that have graduated, whether it's at Victoria West or here at Cole. You know, when they call you for advice, or they call you in times of struggle, man, I mean, you know, that's really puts in perspective about coaching, you know, and what it's really about. I think, you know, so often, like, you know, kids or coaches are judged by wins and losses. But, you know, I think some of the biggest wins that I've had is, you know, when kids call you and they want your advice on a whether it's a job or whether it's a school they're going to go to or thinking about going to, or, you know, they're thinking about buying a car or buying a house, and you know, what should I do type of things. And I think those are some of the biggest wins that I've had. It's just like, man, they want to still talk to you, you know, even after the coaching, they want your advice still, and they trust you. It kind of shows me that, you know, these guys trust you. And even some of the greatest things that I like is, like, you know, after we won a state championship, I had so many former players text me, you know, and congratulate you. And that's awesome, you know, because they still feel a part of the program. And I remember when we were 6-5, you know, I had a lot of those kids saying, man, I still believe in you guys. Y'all are going to come out of this. Y'all are going to do fine. And man, it was really cool. You know, it's really cool to, when they reach out to you. And you know, I think one of the things that I'm always impressed with, or I'm always proud of, is that, man, I don't care. There could be any player that walked through our door right now, and it wouldn't be like a, hey, what's up, man? It wouldn't even be a dab up, I mean, we always hug each other, I mean, it would always be a hug. I think it would be a hug with almost any player that's ever played for me, I think we have great relationships with our kids, and they know, man, that they know that, I'm not just here for, I mean, you could ask any player and they know that I'm not just here for basketball for them. And I tell them that all the time. If I'm just here to be your basketball coach, I'm in it for the wrong reasons, and so they generally know, I think, that, we care for them other than just basketball. And I think our relationships are great. But like I said, I think those are some of the biggest coaching achievements that I've had, is that, when those guys call you for advice, and they want your opinion and they trust you. We've kind of done a thing. It's kind of been like every Christmas, kids are coming down, and we kind of have like almost like an alumni dinner, we get as many kids as we can. We meet at like Chili's or somewhere, and we just talk about life and just catch up,
Yeah. I thought about doing something very similar, but maybe more of a barbecue setup, have one of the coaches.
Yeah.
But it's a great concept. I mean, we keep in touch all the time. It'd be nice to get them all together. Things are a little different right now because of COVID and everything, but can't wait for life to get back to normal, I guess. I meant to ask earlier before we head out, but you guys made it to the state championship game last year, and then bam, COVID hits and shuts everything down, right? And so maybe talk about the feelings behind that. Like, what were you guys feeling at that moment, and then the feeling of we get to do it again, and this time we get to see it through. How awesome did that feel?
Yeah, last year it was tough, because 2 years ago we had made it to the state tournament and we lost to Dallas Madison, and Madison ended up winning the state championship. So last year, our whole goal was like, man, we want to see Madison again. So we get to state, we win our first game. Madison actually won their first game because we actually were two of the teams that got to play. So we won, they won, and we were supposed to we're going to get our rematch now and for a state championship. That's kind of like, I mean, that's like storybook kind of stuff, Yeah, you lost to them last year. Now you're getting a rematch for them in a state championship. I mean, this is big time, and then not getting to do it and then not getting to play was tough because, I mean, we still had some seniors on our team, realizing like they're not going to get to play their last game, which is for a state championship. I mean, that was tough. And then as a coach and as a players, I mean, you don't know, man. You don't know if you're ever going to get back to a state championship, if you're ever going to get to a state tournament. I mean, you just never know. And so there was that uncertainty about like, is this going to be our only chance to do it, and especially with when Vince left, it was like, man, you really start thinking in your head, are you ever going to get back again, But I thought I don't know. I think God has a way of doing things and kind of, he's just got a way of, when you think you got it figured out, it's almost like, I'll show you, and if you'd asked me if we were going to get to a state championship before this season, I couldn't say for sure yes, but then we did it, get back to a state championship. And it's literally the anniversary, the year to the date that we were supposed to play in a state championship, that we got to play the state championship. Then we won it, man. It was almost like a kind of like a thing from above, it's like, hey, you thought you were going to win it last year. And, in your head, you thought, you had it figured out and you knew that this was going to happen. But it's like, let me show you like, just let me show you a different way. And so when we got back here and then getting to play the state championship on the anniversary of when it got shut down, I mean, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. It's gotta be a good feeling too, to know that your guys on your team responded and even after Vince leaving, the goal didn't change. So I'm extremely happy for you guys. Congratulations to you and your team, representing our city well on the biggest stage, and so much respect, Coach.
Well, I appreciate that. And like I said, it's humbling because, there's so many great coaches here, so many great players. I mean, I always think San Antonio is so underrated with basketball, just because like, we got, I mean, heck, you got women, got women that are playing in the Final Four, winning national championships. You got guys like Jordan Burns who are, at Colgate and having success there, and guys that have come out of Wagner, playing in the NBA. I think there's just a lot of talent here, and it definitely doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. But it was pretty cool to kind of win a state championship. And like I said, man, I'm always rooting for San Antonio schools. Always. Obviously when you're playing the season, you want to be the best and you're trying to beat all of them. But once you get in a playoff and it's a San Antonio school versus an Austin school or whatever, I mean, I don't care what San Antonio school it is, man. I'm hoping they win just because you want those guys to get highlighted. You want the city to get highlighted. So hopefully it can kind of be a trend going forward where, more teams can kind of get there and win it,
For sure, Coach. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time on a Saturday morning. I know you could be doing other things, but you're sitting here talking about, basketball and life and everything else. So I appreciate you, man.
No, I appreciate you having me on, Marcus, man. I really do, man. So anything you guys ever need, anything you ever need, man, just let me know, man. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You have a good day, buddy.
All right, you too.